Good evening to you at Late Night Talk. My name is Kofi Bartels. Great to be here with you on the program tonight. It happens to be a Thursday, the 11th of June 2020, and we're back to talk for development. And of course, Late Night Talk comes your way every single weekday, Monday through to Friday from 9:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Today, we have a very interesting conversation. Our post is already up, and I'm sure that those of you who tuned in right now are already seeing the post that we have up for you. So your thoughts, your contributions, your views are welcome on this discussion tonight. COVID-19 in focus, coronavirus update. In Rivers State, we have new developments. In Nigeria, we have new developments. On Tuesday, Nigeria recorded its largest single-day haul, single-day number of infections in a single day in the history of COVID-19 in Nigeria on Tuesday night, it was announced by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, 663 persons. 663 persons for the first time. The latest we got today, I think, was about 400 and something. I need to check. Now, that was not the only record that was set. The other record that was set was that one of the southwestern states recorded for the first time over 100 positive results. Over 100 positive results as far as coronavirus is concerned. And this was giving some persons a reason to ask, were we too hasty as far as easing the lockdown is concerned? Don't forget, Nigeria has gotten into phase 2 of the East lockdown, where you have some rules and regulations and guidelines as to how we can move about and all that. And then the curfew from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. In fact, just today, the River State Police Command issued a directive to all its men that they should only enforce the federal government's curfew of 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. and not the state government's curfew. Well, look at this and other issues regarding coronavirus and COVID-19 in Nigeria. My guest on the line today is Dr. Bieye Briggs. Dr. Bieye Briggs is with the Ignatius Ajuri University of Education. Dr. Briggs, good evening to you.
Good evening, Kofi, and good evening, listeners all over the world.
Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Briggs. What's your assessment of the progress made in the fight against COVID-19 since we had the lockdown being eased in Lagos and Abuja, and then subsequently in Port Harcourt?
COVID-19 has overwhelmed the nation. Not only Nigeria, it has also overwhelmed other countries of the world. And before now, the fight was targeted at containing the virus and to see if it can be eradicated. But the reality on ground is that the virus cannot be eradicated anytime soon. We need to learn to live with the virus.
The virus cannot be eradicated anytime soon.
So we need to learn to live with the virus, and that's exactly what is happening. So you see countries are already easing the lockdowns to allow economic activities to begin again all across the globe. Not because they've, surmounted the challenge of the pandemic, but they've seen that for now, we need to learn to live with the virus, and that's exactly what is happening. So Nigeria is not an exception. But recall that before we recorded the first case of COVID-19 in Nigeria, the Minister for Health and the Minister for Information and Culture, they said Nigeria was very ready to tackle COVID-19. But right now, the reality is that it has overwhelmed the government of Nigeria and the states, So the most rational thing to do was what they have done to ease the lockdown and allow economic activities to begin in earnest. So we as individuals and citizens of this country, we must, have a behavioral change, and learn new ways to live our lives to ensure that we can, live with the virus successfully until when a vaccine is developed or any medication that can treat the virus is found. So that is it for now.
Okay. If you're just joining us, your thoughts are welcome on 080-620-99556. But you cannot call now because our guest is on the line. So please drop your messages here. If you're watching on YouTube, please you can comment out, see it live as I'm talking to you. If you're on Facebook, please also comment as well. I'll see your comments live as we are moving on with the program. Of course, Dr. Bieye Briggs has been a member of this family, if you want to call it that, for some time. Dr. Briggs, we sincerely appreciate you each and every time you've made time to be a part of our program. Please, can I have a paper, my booklet? Thank you. So we sincerely appreciate you.
It's okay. It's my duty. It's a civic duty.
Okay. So you're saying, are you therefore saying, because you just said, I can have it, give me. You just said that the virus is something we have to learn to live with. There was no option, in as regards easing down the lockdown or easing the lockdown and having a phased reduction or phased easing. So there was nothing. There was no alternative. We've seen the largest single daily positive result announced by the National Center for Disease Control that had never been seen before. And I'll just take some time to read a bit of it and take your response from this. Of course, it was announced on Tuesday night, I believe, but it was reported on Wednesday. Tuesday night, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control confirmed 663 new cases of COVID-19 nationwide, but from Ogun State, we had 108. One state, 108. These two figures seen as the highest ever recorded in the country and the state since March. So, including the new cases, the tally of COVID-19 cases has passed the 13,000 mark. And, of course, more than 300 people dead. Over 4,000 patients recovered so far. So, Dr. Briggs, you've said there was no choice. Looking at what other countries are doing, they had something they called a curve. And they were monitoring the curve. And they noticed that something was happening to the curve. And then they said, okay, now we can come out. Some countries had 4 weeks, 8 weeks, some 2 months. Nigeria ended its lockdown on June 1. Do you think maybe we were hasty in terms of the medical aspect of it? Because you're looking at maybe an economic aspect in terms of the medical aspect.
No, it wasn't hasty at all. It was a well thought out decision, and it was done in the best interest of the country as a whole. Because if you look at the COVID-19 pandemic, generally speaking, it doesn't just have effect only on the health of the people. It also took a toll on the economy of the country, of the states, of individuals, and and businesses generally speaking. So when you look at the effects of the COVID-19, you don't only look at it in terms of people infected and people that have died directly from COVID-19. You also look at the other social and economic and psychological issues that came with COVID-19.
What social issues are you referring to, Dr. Bieye Briggs?
When I'm talking about social activities, people are not going to clubs anymore. People are not going to churches as they are, mosques as they should. People's marriages have been put on hold. Other burial activities have been put on hold and all that. This take a toll on individuals and communities, as it were. Okay, so and then the economic aspect of it, people cannot go out and do their daily activities, carry out their daily business activities. People have been laid off in their places of work. People that are artisans that go out and hustle daily to make their living from their daily hustles and all that can no longer do that. And people are also dying. People that are that are ill, that ordinarily should go to the hospital for checkup for other illnesses, cannot go because of the lockdown and all that. So they can't access care. Many people have died, although those are not recorded, against them
when you say many people have died, are you're talking about outside coronavirus?
Yes.
Explain that to us, please.
Every day people die. Even before the advent of COVID-19, people have emergencies and people die. Okay, so COVID-19 coming does not stop those deaths. Now the deaths have been even worsened by the presence of COVID-19 because of the lockdowns.
Okay.
So people cannot actually move freely to go get their medical attention and all that. Then emergencies, people have emergencies in their houses and they cannot, have access to the hospital, no means of transportation to the hospitals and all that. So, of course, they die in their homes and those are not recorded, of course. So if you look at those deaths, they are far more than those that have died directly from COVID-19. So for me, I like
to... those who have died as a result of not being able to go to the hospital to treat themselves because of the lockdown are far more than those who have died from COVID-19?
Exactly. For me,
that's a remarkable, not remarkable, but that's a shocking, because I have not heard that that line, that those who have died as a result of not being able to access a health facility due to the lockdown are more than those who have died from COVID-19 itself in the period.
Exactly. And in one of my last interview with you, I told you that I had to go pick my stepmother, because I was a doctor. I had to use my influence, get an ambulance to get her to the hospital. She was in diabetic coma. And she couldn't get transportation she had to be in the house for 24 hours before I could make arrangements for ambulance to get her to the hospital. So if somebody is not as fortunate as I was, and the person could not have that leverage to have such opportunity to get ambulance to get the patient to the hospital, the person would have died. And I believe that so many cases like that had happened during the lockdown, and they lost their lives. So for me, I like to speak about COVID-19 deaths as direct and indirect. When I talk about direct, I'm talking about those that have died due to COVID-19, and the indirect causes are those that are unrelated to COVID-19, but the death have been occasioned by COVID-19 because people cannot have the supplies and the medical attention that they would have had if COVID-19 was not there, and the lockdown that was occasioned by COVID-19. So that is it. So the effects of COVID-19 is far beyond just the medical. It cuts across every facet of our existence as humans and as a nation, as a people. So what the government did, the first aim of the strategy was to ensure that the virus is contained, and we prevent community transmission. So once that failed and community transmission has been established, as we now have it, then what are you locking down for?
So
there's no essence of locking down, because the locking down,
was the lockdown to prevent community spread?
Yes, and you already have community spread. So what are you locking down for again? And Kofi, I told you when in the early days of the COVID-19, when we had this conversation, I told you that immediately we begin to decentralize testing and increase our testing capacity and our capabilities, and various parts of the country can now test. We see the figures rise sharply. So that on Tuesday, 663 cases were confirmed. It's not a surprise to me. As a matter of fact, it should even be more.
Really?
Given that we now have more than 20 testing centers across the country. Yes.
So are you placing it down to not more people being infected, but more testing capacity? Is that what you're saying? That this increase in a record or a number of positive results for COVID-19 in a day is down to an increased number of testing centers across the country?
Yes, it's because we're increasing our testings. Like I told you before now, River State used to send samples to Irua Specialist Hospital in Edo State for suspected cases of COVID-19. But now we have the capacity to test. We have 2 testing centers in River State. So all this will, it means the more you test, the more cases you're likely to find. If the resources were there and the government is truly serious, for me, I would have advised a situation where community testing, everybody go and test. Go and test.
Okay.
Go and test. Yes, because there's community. Yes, but the government has also understood that the virus is not as fatal as we are made to believe initially. Of course, it wasn't. The government was not trying to deceive anybody. This is a novel virus. Nobody knew much about it. But as the days go by, the researches are being done and findings are being made, so they get to understand the virus better. Like I told you that in April, the DG of NCDC said that 98% of those who have COVID-19 will recover irrespective of treatment. Only about 2% will have the severe forms of the disease, and only a few of those 2% will likely die. Now, as we speak, they're also saying that not all positive cases will necessarily be sent to the isolation center or the treatment center, except those that are having severe forms of the disease.
Because of a lack of space and capacity?
Yes, lack of space and capacity. Then secondly, because number one, there's community transmission. Number two, they understand that you will recover even without treatment. So instead of bringing healthy people that they will not do anything for, that will just recover by themselves in the treatment centers, let the treatment centers be left for those that are in severe conditions, so that at least they will have the capacity to handle them. So these are the realities on ground right now. So the decisions taken so far, for as long as I'm concerned, by the government to ease the lockdown is the right step in the right direction. But we still need to increase, our testing capacity, because I believe so that the more testing we do, the more number of positive cases we're going to find, and that's no rocket science.
Okay, so if you're just joining us, so we're still taking your thought. We're still looking at the increased number of cases in Nigeria as far as coronavirus is concerned, and the unwanted record that was set on Tuesday night, where the NCDC announced that Nigeria had set the highest number of coronavirus cases per day, 663. On Tuesday night. Of course, Wednesday, the media went to town with that story and people were talking about it. And in Ogun State, for the first time, they had 108 cases, which is quite high in one day. One day. And I'm asking my guests, and also, of course, those of you who are watching tonight, did we ease the lockdown too early? Did Nigeria ease the lockdown too early? A lockdown was not declared in Kano State, if my memory serves me right, which it is. No lockdown in Kano State. There was a semblance of a lockdown in Edo State, semblance of a lockdown in Akwa Ibom State. But all these are gone. Lockdown in River State. But federal government declared lockdown in Lagos and the FCT. And of course, on June 1, the lockdown was ended and was replaced with what the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 called a second phase 4-week lockdown, June 29, but we can call it eased lockdown, where there's a curfew from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Now, my guest this evening is saying that the reason we are having the lockdown, the increasing cases of coronavirus and such a record of 663 in one day in the country is because of increased testing capacity. And he's saying the government was right to have eased the lockdown into a second phase. If you agree with him or not, feel free to send your messages in. Looking out for them. I'm looking at my screen right now to make sure I don't miss your messages, and maybe later you get a chance to call in, so please stay with us. Some messages coming in, Dr. Briggs. Please, I'd like to read them before I come back to you. Good evening to Comrade Nwibakbo Golden. He says something is wrong somewhere and only daily carefulness will save us. Something is wrong somewhere and only daily carefulness will save us. Dr. Briggs, did you hear that?
I heard it.
Okay. Maybe he's trying to tend towards the conspiracy angle there. Goodness, God's Grace says, good evening, great one, please, which station? Okay, it's the first time tuning in. I'm on here Monday to Friday. All right, so where you are is this way you need to be to find me, 80 weekday. Sobere Owen Gospel Pusinju, good evening to you, brother. Thank you very much for your kind words. Success Adol, good evening to you. The great Sam, thank you very much for your kind words. I'm doing good. I hope you are too. Thank you very much, the great Sam. Eddie Wanko says the data doesn't even show when the person who tested positive got infected. Hence, can we say that was the highest infection 2 days ago, the highest discovery of people? I think that is a good point, very good point you've made, Eddie Wanko. Dr. Briggs, what do you say to that point?
I think it wasn't very clear. Can you read it again?
Okay, Eddie Wanko says the data doesn't show when he says the data doesn't show when the person who tested positive got infected. Hence, can we say that was the highest, or there was highest infection 2 days ago, or highest discovery of positive people? What do you say to that, Dr. Briggs?
Well, the test is just to check whether or not the virus is in the person's system. That's all. Not to know when the person was infected, where the person was infected. So that's not the purpose for the test. It's to confirm the presence or absence of the COVID-19. That's all.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Do we have more questions here? I'm trying to see if we can pick some out. Okay, I think that is the last one. So you're saying it doesn't matter. As far as that was a statistic released by the NCDC, we just have to take it that those results came out one day.
People, as I speak to you, I've also personally seen people that still do not believe that COVID-19 is real. They feel that these stories are being cooked up and all that to defraud the treasury of the country and all that. But the truth is that the COVID-19 is real, and people are. If you want to know if truly people are infected or not, you can take a stroll to the treatment centers in the state. One at Atalakaya Stadium and the other one at Eleme. You can just take a drive. There is no lockdown again except from 10 p.m. or so.
Have you been there? Have you been there?
No, I haven't been there, but I've got my colleagues that are working there that give me reports of what is happening there.
And there are people being.
And I've gotten colleagues that have been infected and we are sent to the isolation center.
Wow.
2 or 3 days ago, some persons were even discharged. I haven't been freed from the virus. Some of my colleagues, yes, especially the ones that are working at the Rivers University Teaching Hospital. So.
Oh, you have colleagues who work in the hospital, the general hospital. The teaching hospital
who infected? At the teaching hospital, yes.
Because
people
came into contact with people they knew had the virus, or just treating everyday people and they just got tested and said, you have the virus.
If people want to talk about community transmission, it means that even the people working with you in the studio may have even contracted the virus. It's also possible that you may have had you personally, Kofi, you may have had the virus and go well without even having any symptoms. That's how it is. It's not every case of COVID-19 that must come down with symptoms. No. Some will have it and not know that they even had it and they will still recover without showing any symptom. Some will have it and will show only mild symptoms and still recover. Only very few cases will, progress to, the severe forms of the disease that may require hospital admission and all that. That is why the protocol is changing. Like I said to you, that the DGSDC said now that even those that are positive may not necessarily be isolated anymore. All right? Because they know that 98% of those positive cases will heal spontaneously. Only those 2% that will have the severe forms may require to be admitted in the isolation center for treatment. So, how sure are you that you've not had this from somebody that even never showed any symptom but was positive of it? How am I sure that I've not had it? I'm a doctor, I work in the hospital, I attend to patients every now and then. How am I sure that I've not had it and recovered spontaneously without even showing any symptom? So that's what we're talking about, community transmission. So there is it's outside the control of anybody. The early stages of the fight of COVID-19 in Nigeria, we wanted to contain it, we wanted to limit as much as possible the spread of COVID-19. But right now it has spread like wildfire beyond the control of anybody. So, and good thing, it is not as fatal as we had thought. Otherwise, almost 3 months into the pandemic in Nigeria, we just recorded 300 and just a little bit above 300 persons, died of the virus. May their souls rest in peace anyway. But what we are saying is that if it was as fatal as we had thought initially, by now we should have been recording, thousands, if not tens of thousands of deaths by now in Nigeria. But that is not the case. That goes without. I won't end it without saying that people should still adhere strictly to the health.
I was wondering.
Yes, washing your hands, maintaining social distancing, wearing a face mask, or constant washing of hands, use of alcohol-based hand sanitizers. Please, as much as possible, do your bit. If you're doing it, you're going to not only protect yourself but also protect your loved ones. Like I said before, that those that are going to have, that are likely going to have the severe forms of the disease are those that have underlying medical conditions. You don't know if your parent or your brother, your sister, or whoever that is close to you, your relative or your colleague in the office has any medical condition that if he or she is exposed to the virus may lead to the person's death. And of course, if you know that you're the one that transmits the virus to the person, you won't want to have that in your conscience at all.
Dr. Briggs,
so you need to.
You have raised points in defense of the federal government of Nigeria, and even the states that.
No. It's not in defense. It's not.
No.
Wait.
No. I know the points. I know the points are not intended to be in defense of the federal government. I know the points were not intended to be in defense of the federal government. But what I'm saying is that the points, invariably really support what the government did, and you said the government did the right thing.
Yes.
So what I'm about to say, I'm trying to say is, I know you've brought up some beautiful points to tell us why you think it was right to have eased the lockdown on June 1 after just a few weeks of having a lockdown in Nigeria. But you said that COVID-19 is spreading like wildfire.
Yes. Now, let me say this, because I like facts. I don't talk from the point of
No,
emotion.
no, I'm not.
All right?
I'm not saying. I'm not saying.
No, no, no.
I'm not saying.
I
I'm not talking about
I
with
understand.
facts.
I understand.
I just
Okay,
meant you. You,
I
you
want
said you
to.
said that the federal government was right of ease of lockdown because a lot of
Yes.
social activities were being affected, and all that. And but you now just said it's spreading like wildfire. Even some of your colleagues have gotten it. That what you hear about what's going on in the isolation center at the Kaya Stadium, Yakubu Gowon Stadium, Port Harcourt, it shows that the thing is coming. It's really coming, and even health workers are at risk. That's what you said. So it's spreading like wildfire.
Yes.
Okay,
Now
so
let me say.
so
Let me.
I'm trying to marry you saying it was okay to have eased the lockdown on June 1 and still saying the thing is spreading like wildfire, because shouldn't that be the opposite? The opposite, if the virus is on the increase, that we actually intensify the lockdown.
Okay. Before I respond, let me say something. I want to let me look for a perfect analogy for you. Um. God. Well, I don't. I'll get back to that one. But let me tell you what the DG of WHO said
Yeah.
about 2-3 weeks ago. He granted an interview wherein he advised governments of the world, leaders of the world, to ease the lockdown to allow economic activities to resume immediately, because they have seen that the virus cannot be eliminated now. That the WHO is advising that we must begin to learn how to live with the virus, and that the effects of continued lockdown of the nations of the world, the nations of the world may never recover from the economic recession that might ensue after the pandemic. So it's advice. So you see, it's not something that is what I think. Professionals have also advocated that, and it was based on that advice of WHO. Even before WHO gave that advice, some countries have already started easing the lockdowns in their respective countries. But so many others followed suit after the DG of WHO. So now you're trying to prevent something, and what you're preventing has already happened. So what do? You keep on preventing what is already going on. Okay, so I told you that the first stage of the strategy was to ensure that the virus is contained. Containment means that if it's in Lagos, let us identify where it is. Let me say it's around Lekki area. Mm-hmm. Let us ensure that it doesn't go beyond Lekki. You're containing it. You're cutting off where the virus is and ensuring that it doesn't go beyond Lekki, just as it happened in Wuhan, China. Once the virus started spreading in Wuhan, the Chinese authorities, locked down Wuhan and ensured that nobody leaks and nobody comes into Wuhan. That was why, even though Wuhan was on shutdown, other parts of China were still, going on with their normal life.
Dr. Bieye Briggs, that is exactly the point I'm making. That is exactly the point I'm making. When did Wuhan ease its lockdown? They saw that there were reductions in the daily positive results from that city. In fact, there was a point where they now began to see that they didn't have a case. I mean, China got a day they had no single test positive result, I think, or death. I need to be sure. And it wasn't because of what happened in Nigeria. We had no positive result. That one, there were issues with testing. And so for that day, there was no result. But they saw that the curve that was going this way was going up, that it began to go down small and flatten. And so the easing has come as a result of the flattening or the reduction. Better fortunes for them. Our own easing came when the results were still spiking.
Okay, now you're not getting the point. Their easing came a lot earlier because they were able to, flatten the curve and also make the curve to nosedive, that's to go down.
Yeah.
Okay, because their response was swift. They discovered the virus on time, and they contained it. Containment was successful to a large extent in Wuhan. Even though by the time they started locking down Wuhan, most international visitors that came to Wuhan had already traveled outside of Wuhan. And their contact tracing strategy was superb, was second to none.
So our own now, we are not even contact tracing as well as they did. We are not even fumigating or decontaminating as well as they did. We are just throwing things somewhere. And we have not even started seeing a reduction. They were seeing reduction in the number of daily positive results.
Kofi, because their containment strategy was successful.
So our own
containment strategy did not work.
So why did we ease the lockdown then? Because since our containment strategy did not work, shouldn't we have enforced it better and made it work better? Because the truth is, Dr. Briggs, the so-called lockdown was not really.
Kofi, do you understand that? Do you understand that we have a very peculiar situation? People when the federal government officially locked down Lagos, Ogun, and Abuja, but people were still traveling. I don't know how they managed to circumvent the security post along the
Dr. Briggs,
along
you don't
Lagos
need to go too
State.
far. They were collecting money.
Okay.
They were making themselves rich. Look at Ogun State.
And they were traveling.
Yeah.
And they were traveling. And they were traveling and they were spreading it. People were leaving Lagos and they were going to Kano. People were leaving Lagos and they were going to Kaduna. People were leaving Lagos and they were going to Edo State. People were leaving Lagos and they were coming to Port Harcourt. Even till date that we said the state lockdown will be eased by 21st of June. But till today, people are coming from Lagos, who are coming from everywhere. So technically, on paper, there is lockdown. Technically speaking, the boundaries and the borders were open and people were coming in freely and going out freely. So the virus spread beyond what the federal government could contain, because the people themselves that were trying to be, the government that was trying to protect, did not understand the enormity of the challenges that they were faced with. Like I told you, even till now, people don't believe. Religious leaders, responding religious leaders, do not still believe that the coronavirus is real, and they tell that to their followers, to their congregation, and people give those views very strongly. That has not in any way helped the fight against COVID-19. In any case, we have now established, the authorities have now established, agencies have established that there is community transmission, which was what they were trying to stop at initial. Now that they have failed in achieving that goal, there is no reason to lock down again. That's what I'm saying. And that is technically, especially sound. There is community transmission. What are you going to do again? What are you locking down to do what? You're locking down because you don't want people to, you can isolate infected people,
Dr.
trace
Briggs,
them,
Dr. Briggs,
contact tracing,
Dr. Briggs, you said
isolate
something.
them from the population so that it doesn't spread. But that has failed, and now the community you're trying to protect is infected already. There is widespread infection of the virus. So what are you locking down again? What do you want to achieve in locking to further lockdown? What do you want to achieve? That's what you ask yourself.
Dr. Briggs, you made a point, and as a point I'd like to come back to. You said that the lockdown wasn't working. Why wasn't it working? And I said, it's not far-fetched. Money was exchanging hands, and people were able to move. People could get mopoles in the front of their car. They can move. Big men were moving. People who had money were moving, and all that. Now, you're saying that because the lockdown was not being effective, it wasn't being obeyed, it wasn't effective, and therefore we saw increasing cases. Now, is the solution ending the lockdown or easing it? If people moving around is making it worse, then we open the floodgates. Is that what you're saying, Dr. Briggs?
That's not what I've said.
No. Okay, so I'm asking now, isn't it tantamount to opening the floodgates or the gates of hell? When if people were moving around, so isn't it the same as opening the gates of hell? When, as you said, if people were breaking or flouting the lockdown and moving around the country from Ogun to other parts of the country, from Lagos to other parts of the country, from Abuja to other parts of the country, they were spreading this thing because they were flouting the lockdown order. Now we are saying to solve the situation, we are opening all the borders. People can move freely to anywhere or move around the state freely and move around their businesses freely. Isn't that opening the gates of hell, Dr. Briggs?
I don't think so, because I'm speaking from a professional point of view, and I'm telling you that the first strategy was to contain the virus. Unfortunately, everybody was not on board. Everybody did not key in to that strategy. They didn't understand. Like I told you, that even till today, I see people that are so learned and so respected that still believe that COVID-19 is a scam. That there is nothing like COVID-19 till today. So you can imagine how it was then. People, it was just coming and government is saying, don't move about, stay at a place, you're on lockdown, no movement and all that. People took it lightly. Even the security agencies did not understand the enormity of the challenge we are faced with us at that time. That is the reason why.
Do they understand it right now? Do they understand it more or less right now? Are they complying more or less? The fear that people had, is it increasing or decreasing?
If the fear that people had, if it's increasing or decreasing.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, yes, please, yes.
I don't know if it's increasing or it's decreasing, but the people that I've had to communicate with some people. Some of them are relatives of mine, and they seem not to be bothered about COVID-19. For as long as they are concerned, it's not real. So I can't say, like I've told you, that this is something that everybody was supposed to key in: the religious leaders, the traditional institution, civil society, media, and all that. But some persons still do not believe, especially from the religious circle, do not believe that COVID-19 is real. And the security agencies too have not helped matters. Because
who controls the security agencies? That's the point. Who controls the security agencies?
When the government gives orders, will they go and stay in the borders or at the boundaries of the states to ensure that the orders are complied with? These are unpatriotic citizens that are manning our security outfits and all that. So what do you expect? Every opportunity they see it as every order like this, they see it as an opportunity to make money. And we have found ourselves where we are, and we cannot lock down. Nobody, no reasonable person would advocate that the country should be locked down. Now, okay, let me ask you: when River State was on lockdown, and His Excellency eased the lockdown for 2 days, you saw the crowd that went to the shopping malls, that went to the market to try to restock their houses again. Did you see how it was? Was there any social distancing? Was there social distancing? Okay, now, haven't mixed up like that and probably, come in contact with people that may have been exposed to the virus, and you go back home and we continue the lockdown. You think you've achieved anything? You've not achieved anything.
But these are because of mistakes and probably, ill-advised decisions were taken, for easing lockdown for 6 days. Do you remember we had Salah, easing it for church service, blah, 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 Easter. People go on lockdown for 3 days and then go off lockdown for 6 days. And then so what's the essence of the lockdown? And then the body language of government too, and the message they're indirectly passing on to the public is that, hey, we may not even believe this thing is real because you have a lockdown for 3 days and go and ease it for 6 days. And you're not even sure about when you're going to continue, because on the night when the thing is meant to resume, the lockdown is meant to resume, they just hear that night that, the lockdown is not continuing. And then they're asking, so what's the point? And then they begin to think, well, maybe this thing is not serious after all.
Number one, see, when you declare a lockdown like that, you want to achieve something. That you don't just lock down. What we saw, especially in River State, was lockdown as punishment. But it shouldn't have been so. When you lock down, number one, you want to isolate cases. You want to isolate cases of COVID-19. You want to isolate them from the community, number one. Number two, you want to trace contacts of those that are positive, those that have come in contact with positive people, and also test them to confirm whether or not they are exposed to the virus. If they are exposed, you also isolate them. Number two, you want to decontaminate. You want to decontaminate public places at the time the place is locked down. You have easy access to the markets, to the public places, and all that. You decontaminate with the necessary chemicals and agents, for the contamination. Then finally, you want to increase sensitization. You want to engage the people. You want to engage the leadership at all strata, traditional, religious, youth, women, and everybody, students, everybody. So massively engage them, enlighten them, let them understand that this is what is on ground. But this was not done. It is now that River State government. It is now that River State government is now trying to decontaminate. This should have been going on as at the time people were in their houses. That's the point. So, but we have missed it. We have made mistakes. Government has taken decisions that were not right and they were not timely as at that time. Now they have come to the reality that we have community transmission. There is nothing anybody can do. So you can't keep on locking down. Locking down means that people will be in their homes, people will be starving, people will be hungry. Those that see that should go to the hospital cannot go to the hospitals and all that, and they will die in their houses. You understand? And number two, the government has now realized that this disease is not as fatal as. Now, let me put it in proper perspective so you understand. If 100 people have COVID, positive of COVID-19, 98 will be well without treatment. Even without treatment, they will be well. Some of them will not even have symptoms of the disease. Only 2 of the 100 people who may likely have severe forms of the disease. That they have severe forms doesn't mean that they will necessarily die. They may or may not die. And those that are most likely to die of the disease are those with underlying medical conditions. I've said that. So if 100 people have a disease, out of the 100, 98 gets well. Only 2 will have severe forms of the disease. And if out of the 2 that have severe forms, if anyone has underlying medical conditions, they are the ones that will likely die from the disease. So what's the panic for in the end? So the government understands this now.
Okay.
And that is why they are taking the decision they are taking.
So you're saying...
So they are saying that the continuous lockdown, the benefits of continuous lockdown, is far more less than, even the lockdown.
Okay, if you're just joining us, it's still Late Night Talk. My name is Kofi Bartels. Dr. Bieye Briggs of the Ignatius Archer University of Education joins us. He's a public health practitioner, and he's our guest on the program tonight. We're asking you, following the record daily recording of 663 positive coronavirus cases in Nigeria on Tuesday night, did the government of Nigeria and the relevant state governments end the lockdown hastily, too early? That's a simple question we're asking. Ogun State, that Dr. Briggs talked about, that was one of the states the federal government declared a lockdown in. On that same Tuesday, recorded 108. They had never recorded as many cases as that before then. 108. Now, my guess, Dr. Briggs says, this could be as a result of increasing testing capacity in the form of more testing centers, he's saying. And he also agrees that the federal government had no choice but to open up the country because of, business and social activities and all that. So what do you think about this? I'd like you to send your message to us. If you're watching on YouTube, please drop your message. If you're watching on the Facebook, please drop your message. And once we say goodbye to Dr. Briggs, if we have time, we'll take a call or two before we go. Dr. Briggs, I'd like to read some messages here before I get back to you. Okay, so we have this message coming in from Francis Iroka. Good evening. She says watching live. Bright Kev Azubike says, my question, where are these people who are infected? Now, Dr. Briggs, some people are asking themselves, and I've asked myself, and I've asked other people before recently, that, you don't see any coronavirus patient? They say no. They asked me, you two, you don't see, they asked me, you two, you don't see any coronavirus patient? I said no. So where they now, they know I beg, nothing has come. So he's asking, where are the infected people that we keep hearing? Where are they?
If you go to the LMA treatment center or the Yakubu Gowon Stadium and pay them a visit, probably going without a mask and have a handshake with them, hug them, kiss them if need be, and go back home.
Please, like they say, don't try this at home. Don't take his advice. Okay, Biko, Be Innocent says, good evening, thank you very much. Says Nigeria needs God. Oh, well, like one former head of state, one former first lady said, there is God. Oh, Eddie Wanko is back. He says effective lockdown requires that we know where the infection is, so that you can restrict it to that part, to focus on that part and channel resources to manage it. Our case here is that the lockdown came late when they could not know where exactly to face. By the time Lagos, Ogun, Abuja were in lockdown, some states had already recorded cases, and just one person can spread the virus. I mean, in Anambra State, they're recording, in a day, 20-something cases recently. Imo State, they had their first death. It's getting worse, Dr. Briggs, isn't it? Like you said, it's spreading like wildfire. So basically, Dr. Briggs, what you're saying is more people will continue to get infected, but we just have to live with it. I'd like to bring this up for, so you can give an answer, where the Minister of Health, the Honorable Minister of Health, did say that there's a new strain. It's possible that there's a new strain of COVID-19 in Nigeria as a result of mutation, probably from people who recently returned from other countries. Can you explain this to us? Mutation how?
Can you take that again? I didn't get it quite clearly.
Okay, so the Minister of Health recently said that there is a possibility of a new strain of COVID-19 in the country as a result of mutation, probably from people who recently returned from other countries.
Okay. When we talk about mutation, is that the virus itself, it changes. Nothing remains constant. Okay, it changes its how do I put it in the layman's terms so that you understand? Okay, the outer coating of the virus, it changes. For instance, over time, when I was growing up as a child, there was this drug we used to use for the treatment of malaria, chloroquine. Okay, it was a drug of choice, but after a while, it wasn't treating malaria as it ought to treat again because the plasmodium that is responsible for the causation of malaria mutated. It changed its composition, especially the cell wall changed. So when it comes in contact with the drug does not recognize it again, and it cannot destroy it. That is why there is always continuous research and development of drugs, just in case the microorganism, whether viruses, bacteria, or fungi, if they mutate. So when they say that it has mutated, it means that it has changed its composition. Maybe the cells of the outer cells of the virus has changed, so that if there was a drug that was effective against the first strain that we had in Nigeria, to the mutated strain now, that drug will not be effective again, except we'll do further researches again to find a drug that can kill that one. A typical case is also pulmonary tuberculosis. The tuberculosis bacteria keeps on changing, mutating, so that the previous drugs can no longer work. So maybe once there's a mutation, most times the mutated version of the virus becomes even more deadly, more severe than the previous ones. Because it's like a new virus of the body. If somebody that contracted the first virus comes in contact with this mutated strain, the person will get reinfected again and probably will have a severe form of disease.
Okay, let's come back to River State. Okay. Recently, we got news that there was some issue, mysterious deaths in Bonny Island. The Senate mandated its Committee on Health, Primary and Communicable Diseases to meet with the Nigeria Center for Disease Control following reports of mysterious deaths recorded in Bonny Island, River State. The upper chamber, while urging the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management through the National Emergency Management Agency to provide life materials to the people of Bonny Island, mandated the Committee on Environment to meet with the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency to ensure the reduction of marine pollution of all kinds. So mysterious deaths reported in Bonny Island. In some cases, 13 people dying in one day, and they're wondering what's going on. And also, His Excellency, the Governor of River State, did host at the Government House to a meeting 3 oil firms. These are the Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas NLNG Limited, the Shell Petroleum Development Company SPDC, and ExxonMobil Producing Unlimited Company.
Your account is too low for this call.
Okay, we've run out of airtime. I don't know why that keeps happening, because we had a lot of it loaded. But please bear with us, okay? When we get to that level, we're already at that level anyway, so we'll try and get back to Dr. Briggs. Apologies for that. So the governor met with these people, these oil companies, 3 of them, NLNG, Shell, and ExxonMobil. And what they are saying is that they're building a coronavirus treatment center on Bonny Island. a coronavirus treatment center, and they're going to equip the existing hospital there. Okay, we have to allow Dr. Briggs to come. Dr. Briggs, are you there, please?
Yes, I am. I am.
Okay, sorry about that. So what these oil companies said was that they will be upgrading and equipping the Bonny General Hospital as a COVID-19 treatment center. But what the governor said is what drew my attention, really caught my attention. The governor of River State said this was yesterday. He said that there is a health crisis in Bonny local government area, saying that the oil-rich island was becoming the epicenter of COVID-19 pandemic in River State. What do you say to that?
Well, he's the governor. He is entitled to certain information that we may not have at the moment. But, we recall that about 3 to 4 weeks ago, there were reports of strange deaths occurring in Bonny Island, which was back then refuted by the local government chairman and those that were in authority in Bonny there. But even so, it called for investigation. Probably the investigation findings are in tandem with COVID-19, that the deaths probably that was noticed in Bonny some few weeks ago were in consonance with the COVID-19 pandemic. And that is not unexpected, for as long as I'm concerned, because of the position of Bonny Island in the economy of the country. It is where oil and gas are exported out of the shores of the country. So there are lots of people coming from outside the country that come to buy natural gas or related products. So when they come while the ship is loading, they of course they come ashore. They come ashore and they mix with people, and probably some of the crew members of those vessels may have been infected and exposed people there. And then, of course, human to human transmission in Bonny had occurred. So maybe the governor has gotten such a report. That's why he's saying that Bonny is fast becoming the epicenter. But of course, the oil companies, the LNG, SPDC, and ExxonMobil have also done well to upgrade the facilities in Bonny General Hospital to make it a treatment center for COVID-19. So we look forward to seeing what is going to happen there.
Okay, so when you hear the governor saying that Bonny is the epicenter of COVID-19 pandemic, what does that mean?
It means that we are now seeing more cases of COVID-19 in Bonny than in another part of the state. But that's what it means, and that is what it should be. But such information, in my view, should be coming from either NCDC, the Minister of Health, or the Commissioner of Health. But even for him to say that, maybe he would have been properly briefed by experts, public health experts, for him to make such a statement.
The investigation by the River State government into the mysterious deaths in Bonny Island was announced on May 27. This is June 11, and His Excellency the Governor is telling us that the world that the place is, we have a health crisis. It's the epicenter of COVID-19 pandemic in River State, and I as Governor I might consider a possible lockdown of Bonny after due consultation with the High Honorable of Bonny. Are we treating this thing with kids' gloves? Or have we been treating it with kids' gloves?
No. If anything, you must give it to His Excellency the Governor of the state, because from the very first point of the fight against COVID-19 in River State, he has been all out. I really admired his vigor, his sternness, if I have to put it that way, of the way he has been at the forefront of the fight against COVID-19. We may not completely agree with all the things he's done, but you give it to him that he had this passion to protect and preserve the lives of Rivers people. So I don't think that he has, especially in Rivers State, that it has been dealt with kids' gloves. Okay, we may not have done all the right things and all that, but the intent, I think, is genuine. Nobody can take that away from the governor.
Okay, so I'm looking at the the urgency with which His Excellency the Governor of River State approached the fight against COVID-19 in Faga and Obiakpo. People could not move around because of the executive orders, and the city was locked down. People were stopped on the road by the governor and taken to the isolation center where they were detained. Now, Bonny Island is a different case. Number one, no lockdown. Number two, no curfew. Number three, no restriction of movement. Number four, no executive order or any laws specific to Bonny Island. May 27th to June 10. That should be about 2 weeks, if not more. Nothing has been done. We are hearing that investigation was being carried out, and now there's consideration they might have to implement a lockdown, but they will consult the Amana of Bonny. Is that not far a departure from what we used to in River State, where we're moving fast, locking down the borders, locking down? Shouldn't, for instance, Bonny Island by now have been cordoned off to say nobody goes, nobody comes out? 2 weeks, sir. 2 weeks.
Number one,
and as things stand, Dr. Briggs, people are going to Bonny and are coming from Bonny.
Number one, you have to understand that whether the investigations I want to know very for certain whether or not the investigations carried out by the River State government was in collaboration with NCDC of the Federal Ministry of Health. Because if the state government goes on its own to carry out the investigation and found out that it was the deaths in Bonny were related to COVID-19, then that information must be relayed to NCDC and the Federal Ministry of Health, who themselves will come and verify for sure if those findings by the River State government were true before any other investigation or every other actions can be taken.
Yeah, but he just said in a meeting today when all majors came to visit him that we have a health crisis and Bonny Island is now the epicenter of COVID-19. He said it.
That's what I'm saying.
And the government is still thinking about whether they will declare a lockdown there, and they're saying they might declare it, but after they consult the Amana of Bonny. That was yesterday. This is today. You need to
understand the peculiarity of Bonny, you understand, and the economic viability of Bonny. If you lock down Bonny, you're going to shut down the economic nerve wire of the country. That is where the gas and most of our oil are exported from.
No, the people who are, but they can look for a customized lockdown. People who are bringing oil and gas can do their things, but the city, those who are coming to Port Harcourt.
I'm not the governor. I'm not in government, and I'm not holding brief for the governor.
It seems like you're trying to be diplomatic here.
No, I'm not trying to be diplomatic. No. It's not about diplomacy. I'm just trying to think the reasons why the government may have been slow to taking certain decisions, as well as
Are you saying they've been slow?
You said so. You said the swiftness with which the government declared Obiakpo and Port Harcourt city local government areas is not the same in Bonny. Now, I'm trying to think in my mind. Maybe it's because of the peculiar nature of Bonny. And of course, if they do that, they'll be at loggerheads to the federal government. And you know that the state government and the federal government, they've not enjoyed a very fantastic relationship. So the government needs to be careful. Especially looking at already the economy of the country is already down. The nation has revised its budget, 2020 budget downwards. Even the state government revised their budget downwards by 43%. So the economy is already going down, and one of the economic nerve wires of the country, you want to go and shut down that place. Come on, you have to think twice before you do that. Especially considering the fact that the federal government right now is already easing the lockdown because you understand that there is community transmission. So when there is community transmission, Bonny is not an independent nation of its own. It's also under the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So all these factors have been put into consideration before the federal government's decision to ease the lockdown.
So 11 people dying in one day is not enough to move swiftly.
They are going to find a middle ground anyway.
Come again?
they are going to find a middle ground, the federal and state government, with respect to
in how many weeks' time?
I don't know. Maybe you should ask that to the Commissioner of
Ebonyi is the
Information.
epicenter of coronavirus transmission in River State, as the governor described it, and that there is a health crisis. That is probably the first single geographic location that they have been able to say, okay, this is a problem here.
Lagos State is still the epicenter of coronavirus in Nigeria.
No, I'm talking about River State.
No. I want to make a point. Many people have died in Lagos State and in other states. Most cases of COVID-19 are still in Lagos State. Every time we have the statistics being released, Lagos State is always the highest.
But nobody is going out or coming in of Lagos State.
Even so, Lagos is easing down the lockdown. The federal government has eased down the lockdown in Lagos State.
But people cannot leave Lagos State or go into Lagos State for now.
Who said so? Go early hours of the morning and see if
I'm saying officially.
Officially.
Your silence was very loud. when your silence was one of disbelief, and he said, "Who said so?" Okay, Dr. Briggs, please permit me to read some messages here before we say goodbye. Because I mean, if you're looking at curbing the spread in River State, and then people are flocking to Bonny and flocking out, or going having free entry and free exit, then are we safe in River State? But anyway, you said it's to find a middle ground between the federal and state government. Eddie Wanko is back. He says effective lockdown requires that we know the direction the infection is, so you can restrict it to that part and focus on the part and channel resources to manage it. Our case here is just that the lockdown came late, when they could not know where exactly to face. And by the time Lagos, Ogun, Abuja were on lockdown, some states had already recorded cases, and just one person can spread the virus. The Icon Studio says, Kofi, I beg, before we can come up with another lockdown, I think there's more of texting today. Probably there'll be massive record case. I hope not. Okay. There's more testing. That's why we're having a more cases, positive cases. Okay. Next one is Josephine. He says, Bartels, we don't need another lockdown. Other countries are easing up their lockdown. We're thinking of locking down. And those countries are easing up because the cases are going down. Not all of them, though. All right. Dr. Briggs, is there something you'd like to say before we say goodbye to you?
Kofi, the first two interviews we had on this COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria, I told you that as we begin to, test more, we're going to see more cases. The cases will rise. And everything that we are seeing today you for all should not be surprised, because I think I've told you. So if it's coming out, you say, "Oh, Dr. Briggs said it some months ago that this is how it's going to be." So for me, whenever I see the cases rising, I don't get perturbed anymore. And then I've also come to realize that the COVID-19 is not as fatal as it is. Maybe
that's why people are being more careless.
People are being I don't know if people are being careless. I'm still being very careful. But the people that are careless are people that have never believed that been shown that the COVID-19 exists. For those of us that believe and know for sure that COVID-19 is living amongst us, probably is just arm's length away from us. We are taking every precautionary measures we can to keep ourselves and our families safe. So we still advocate and emphasize the need to follow all the health advisories as given by NCDC and other relevant agencies of government. That you maintain social distancing, wash your hands regularly with soap and water. Where that is unavailable, you use alcohol-based sanitizers. Use your face mask, and as much as possible, stay safe and keep the next person safe. If we all do that, then we are going to live very well with COVID-19, pending when a vaccine or a medication is.
I wish I could tell you that sounds encouraging when I hear you say we're going to live very well with it. We don't want to live with it.
Well, it's the reality. We have to live with it, just like we are living with hypertension, diabetes, malaria, HIV, and all that, tuberculosis, all those infectious diseases, of course.
So, how do you react if you see a new lockdown nationwide?
The what?
If you hear that the government has announced a nationwide lockdown, what would your response be?
If they reestablish a lockdown?
Yes, nationwide.
I'll be disappointed.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Bieye Briggs, I want to thank you very much for your time and also taking a few seconds out or minutes to remind people to wash their hands as always and wear their masks and also maintain social distancing. Stay at home as much as they can. Now the stay at home thing is dead. Nobody, even government, we are not. We hear the presidential task force series say stay at home, but we don't. It's not really something we talk about. Stay at home. We don't have stay at home. Rather, maybe stay alert. Social distancing. It's well, Dr. Briggs. Thank you very much for your time. You've said, in essence, we don't need another lockdown, despite the increasing cases and the record that was recently set in number of daily reported cases. We just need to continue to live our lives and open up the country. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Briggs.
Thank you, Kofi, and thank you, listeners.
All right. Dr. Bieye Briggs is a public health practitioner, and he is of the Ignatius Ajero University of Education. My name is Kofi Bartels, and that brings us to the end of yet another edition of Late Night Talk. It's been quite interesting, taking some time out to discuss the latest as far as coronavirus in Nigeria is concerned. We'll return tomorrow, same time, 9:30 p.m. with another edition of Late Night Talk. Till then, have yourself a wonderful and fantastic night. Please share this post, and also don't forget to hit the notification button if you're watching on Facebook, so that each time we go on live, you get notified. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the notification bell, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're on Facebook, like my page and follow my page as well, and then share this post. My name is Kofi Bartels. Till I see you tomorrow, Friday, for the last time this week, God bless you and have a fantastic night. Good night.
Thank you.